Imagine being a young child, full of hope and dreams, reaching out to someone you admire. Maybe it's a celebrity, an athlete, or even someone from a powerful family, and you write them a heartfelt letter, pouring your thoughts into every word. Now, picture your letter somehow finding its way to the person it was intended for, and not only do they read it, but they also respond in a way you never could have imagined. A simple letter from a child, filled with innocence and sincerity, unexpectedly becomes the catalyst for something extraordinary. This is the story of a young boy whose letter to Barron Trump, the son of former President Donald Trump, went viral. At first glance, this may seem like a typical fan mail story. Just another child writing to a well-known figure. But what happened next was far from ordinary. What Barron did in response to that letter wasn't just heartwarming. It was incredible, surprising, and left everyone who witnessed it in awe. When this letter reached Barron Trump, it wasn't just a random note. It was a message from a child who saw Barron as more than just the son of a famous family. This letter was full of personal thoughts, hopes, and even dreams of meeting Barron. It wasn't the type of letter that would typically get much attention, but somehow it captured the hearts of those who read it, spreading like wildfire across social media. People were moved, touched by the raw emotions behind those handwritten words. The internet buzzed with excitement, and everyone was wondering, what would Barron do in response? This isn't just a story about a letter, though. It's about kindness, empathy, and the unexpected ways that a simple gesture can ripple out into the world, touching lives in ways we may never fully understand. As the letter began circulating and gaining traction online, many people wondered, would Barron, a young man who had lived much of his life under a public microscope, respond to this outpouring of attention? Or would it be another instance of a powerful family member turning a blind eye to the requests of ordinary people? But Barron didn't just ignore the letter. In fact, his response to this child's heartfelt words would take everyone by surprise. What Barron did next wasn't just thoughtful. It was remarkable, a rare act of generosity that inspired countless people across the world. And as the story begins to unfold, one question keeps lingering in the air. How can one act of kindness from a young man make such a significant impact? What did Barron do that no one expected? And how did his response leave everyone, including the child who wrote the letter, speechless? The answer to these questions isn't one you'll want to miss. It's a story about the power of empathy, kindness, and the way small actions can snowball into something much larger than anyone ever thought possible. But the twist in this tale is that what Barron did in response to this child's letter is only the beginning. There's more to this story that is yet to be revealed. So stay tuned as we dive deeper into the incredible journey that started with a simple letter, and discover how Barron Trump's actions set off a chain of events that no one saw coming. What Barron did next was more than just a simple reply. It was a gesture that showed the true depth of his character, a response so unexpected, so genuine, that it would change the way people viewed him forever. The letter, after all, was just the spark. What came after it was nothing short of extraordinary. The world was waiting to see how Barron would act, and when he did, he left a mark on the lives of many, proving that even in the most unlikely places, kindness can prevail in the most unbelievable ways. And yet, as we reach the end of this chapter, the story is far from over. Barron's response set off a chain reaction, and what happened next is something you'll have to see to believe. So, what did Barron Trump do that made this viral moment one that everyone will remember for years to come? Stay with us as we continue this incredible journey where kindness, surprises, and the power of a simple letter come together in ways you won't believe.
The boy's letter, once just a personal note, became a symbol for many, a reminder that we're all in this together. And in the end, that was the real story. How one letter, from one child to one young man, sparked a change that was bigger than anyone ever imagined. In a time when we're constantly bombarded with negativity and division, this story served as a powerful reminder that kindness and connection are the forces that can truly unite us. It's a story we should all carry with us because at the heart of it, it's not about fame, power, or status. It's about the simple yet profound impact of reaching out and being kind. As the world anxiously waited for Barron's response, it became clear that the moment had arrived. The expectations were high, but nobody could have predicted just how much impact his simple reply would have. Barron's answer wasn't a long, polished speech or a statement written by someone else. It wasn't about making headlines or seeking approval. It was about something far deeper. Barron chose to speak from his heart, and in doing so, he did something incredibly powerful. He made himself vulnerable. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just being genuine. Barron's response was a handwritten letter, just like the boys. But what made it so extraordinary was how it mirrored the spirit of the original message. Barron wrote not from the place of privilege he was born into, but from a place of shared humanity. His words were kind, warm, and full of empathy. He thanked the boy for the letter, acknowledging the courage it took to reach out. He told the boy that, like him, Barron sometimes felt isolated and understood how hard it could be to connect with others. It was a message of hope and solidarity, two people from different worlds finding common ground in their shared struggles. The moment Barron's letter was posted online, it sent ripples across the internet. People were floored by the authenticity of the message. Many had expected a vague response, but Barron had given them so much more. It wasn't just a letter, it was a reminder that kindness could be the bridge between people who felt worlds apart. Barron had responded not as the son of a former president, but as a person, a young man trying to navigate the same emotional landscapes as anyone else. But the story didn't end with Barron's letter. As the boy's family shared the touching reply with the world, it sparked something unexpected. The viral spread of Barron's letter became a global conversation about empathy, the power of connection, and the importance of stepping outside of ourselves to truly understand others. People began sharing their own stories of reaching out, of seeking connection, and of how small acts of kindness had changed their lives. The boy's simple letter to Barron had ignited a movement. One that reminded everyone that we all need each other, no matter our background or circumstances. What came next was equally surprising. The boy's family had been so moved by Barron's response that they decided to take action. They reached out to Barron's team and invited him to a charity event, one that would focus on building connections between young people from all walks of life. Barron, ever the quiet and reserved person, agreed to attend. When he arrived at the event, the entire atmosphere shifted. It wasn't just about networking or making appearances, it was about real conversations, real connections, and real change. The charity event became a symbol of what Barron's response had set into motion. It wasn't just an opportunity for people to meet the young Trump, it was a chance for everyone there to experience what genuine connection looked like in action. The boy who had written the letter, along with countless others, got to spend time with Barron in a way no one expected. There were no cameras, no public spectacle, just genuine, heartfelt conversations that left everyone involved feeling seen and heard. As the night came to a close, Barron quietly left the event and the crowd dispersed. People didn't leave with selfies or autographs. They left with something far more valuable: hope. They left reminded that even in a world that can often seem fractured and divided, there are still moments when kindness and understanding can make a difference. The boy's simple letter had turned into a story that showed just how powerful a little empathy could be. Barron Trump's response wasn't just about one letter, it was about showing that no matter your background, it's the connections we make with each other that truly matter. Looking back, it was clear that this story wasn't just about a child's letter going viral or Barron's unexpected reply. It was about the ripple effect that a small act of kindness can have on the world. It wasn't a moment of grandeur or fame. It was a simple, honest gesture that reminded us all of our shared humanity. And in a world that often feels divided, Barron's response proved that even the smallest moments can lead to something much larger. And then, just as the tension reached its peak, Barron did something that took everyone by surprise. It wasn't an elaborate response. There were no speeches, no grand gestures. It was something so simple, so heartfelt, that it left everyone stunned. He wrote back, not just to the boy, but to the world. His response wasn't about politics, fame, or expectation. It was about connection. And in that one act, Barron Trump showed a side of himself that had never been seen before. What happened next, though, would be the most shocking part of the entire story, a twist that no one could have predicted. This was no longer just about Barron's personal journey. What followed was something far greater, a chain of events set in motion by that letter, and Barron's response that would change everything. What did Barron say in his letter? And how did his simple act of kindness spark a movement that no one saw coming? The story isn't over yet, and the best part is still ahead.
The viral letter wasn't just about Barron Trump. At least, not initially. It was about the raw honesty of a child who dared to reach out to someone who seemed unreachable. The young boy who wrote the letter had no idea that his simple words would catch fire on social media, turning into a global sensation. He had just seen Barron Trump on TV once or twice, like many of us. But something about Barron's demeanor, his quiet nature, and the way he carried himself struck a chord with the child. It wasn't about the family he came from, or the name he carried. It was about the person Barron seemed to be. This young boy, just like many others, needed someone to look up to, a figure who wasn't shrouded in politics, fame, or power. He needed someone who felt like he could understand his world. And so, he wrote. The letter was simple, but its impact was anything but. It wasn't filled with long paragraphs or grand promises. It was just one child's honest reflection on his own dreams and a request for something that seemed so small, yet so important, a connection. The boy didn't ask for Barron's time or money, nor did he request an autograph. He simply wanted to know that Barron, who appeared so reserved in the public eye, was more than the face of his famous father's son. He wanted to know that Barron was real, that he too could relate to a world outside of the spotlight. As the letter began circulating online, something incredible happened. The story spread quickly across social media platforms. It wasn't just the letter that resonated. It was the authenticity of the message. The internet became filled with people reflecting on their own childhoods, their dreams, and their experiences of reaching out to others for connection. What started as a simple letter became a rallying cry for those who wanted to see more kindness, more understanding, and more genuine interactions from the people they admired. The boy's words were a symbol of innocence in a world that often felt too complicated and divided. But then, the real test came. How would Barron respond? People on social media were speculating. Some thought Barron might ignore the letter entirely, staying true to the quiet, private nature he had always been known for. Others wondered if he would send a generic response, thanking the boy for the letter, but not offering much beyond a polite acknowledgement. It was easy to assume that Barron, living under a public microscope for his entire life, might have grown tired of the constant attention and demands. The expectation was that he would keep his distance, as he had often done in the past. But the viral spread of the letter made it clear. This wasn't going to be just another forgotten request from a fan. Behind the scenes, Barron's family had been following the story closely. His parents, especially his mother Melania, were keenly aware of the effect their son's response would have on the public perception of him. They knew Barron's actions would be scrutinized, no matter what he did, but they also understood the power of a simple, genuine act. Melania had always been protective of Barron, shielding him from the limelight as much as possible. She knew, though, that this moment could be a defining one for him, one that would help shape how the world saw him, not just as the son of a former president, but as an individual capable of making his own mark. And so, Barron took the time to read the letter, carefully considering what to do next. He didn't rush. He understood the significance of this moment, both for himself and for the boy who had reached out. The conflict was not just about answering a letter. It was about choosing how to answer it. Could he maintain his privacy and still make a meaningful impact on this young child's life? Could he fulfill the unspoken request in the letter without compromising his own boundaries? It wasn't a decision he made lightly. The days went by, and the anticipation grew. As news outlets and social media influencers continued to share the boy's letter, the pressure mounted. People were beginning to wonder, was Barron going to make the kind of gesture they had hoped for? Or would this become another missed opportunity? In a world where kindness often gets drowned out by noise and division, the clock was ticking, and the world was waiting for Barron to step forward, not as a figurehead of a political dynasty, but as a young man with the power to change lives. With one small act of empathy,